Living Local presents Biz Buzz 413 with your host, Jill Munson.
Hey, welcome back in. It is part 2 of my conversation with Scott Graves. I'm very excited to have him because he is part of the Living Local family. Scott's role here with Living Local is our funding and programs director. Scott, I appreciate you sticking around and doing a part 2 with me.
I am absolutely, it's just a pleasure to be here. I'm happy to be talking with you and talking about things that are important to both of us.
And mostly he's happy because he does his own podcast that I had to do the research and he just gets to answer the questions, right?
This is a really fun thing because I don't often get to just answer questions. I mean, usually I got buttons to press and problems to solve while I'm also trying to ask questions. So I feel for you, Jill, and you're doing a great job, by the way.
Oh, thanks. People have no idea what goes on behind the scenes. They're like, "Oh, it's a podcast," and I was like, "Yes." Like, 20-minute podcast takes 7 hours when you factor in the research and production, but it's worth it because I'm having a blast, and I'm very grateful to Bill Cole and Living Local for the platform. So if somebody is listening to this part and they didn't get to listen to part 1, go back and listen to that first because we talk a lot about what this is going to lead into, which is the white paper that you and a co-writer founded and did just at the end of the year last year. So it's really relevant information talking about this opportunity for $100 billion strategy investment. And I really came into this like kind of a naysayer, I guess, like, yeah, right, okay. But I mean, the more we talked, and that's why I want everyone to listen to part 1, there's a lot of sense being made and a lot of opportunity. But I think the big thing, and I know, Scott, I feel this way in so much. Years ago, I live in Springfield, and the city council had a ad hoc committee and asked me to serve on it. It was about workforce, and I gratefully served, but it was interesting because it was like we brought in, did our research. We brought in all these groups, and it was like this group and that group and this group and that group. And all these groups are kind of doing the same thing, but that group's not talking to that group and that group's not talking to that group. And maybe if they all kind of got together, we could figure out a way to actually, I don't know, do something. So in your white paper, it really emphasizes this importance of interconnected strategies and not just always going to the big man, on the hill, whoever that is, state, federal, for funding, but really looking at the local investment to be able to revitalize this region. So what I'm wondering is why, in your opinion, is this going to be the crux of this success? Why is it important that we engage local people in the investment, in the property and the business, and not only bring in this outside money, but get everybody sort of involved? Talk to me.
Whether you're talking about investment in a technology company through venture capital, or you're talking about real estate, property development, and the investment in that, if you have a combination of some local buy-in coupled with other forms of capital to come from afar, you've got a lot of the right leverage points. That's the simple answer. To get to $100 billion investment strategy takes time and effort, and it really will take outside capital. But that's also a sign that you're really doing the right thing because now you've got interest from more than just your local folks. As anyone that's ever fundraised for any circumstance, including for donors for a nonprofit, it's always easier and it always accelerates when people from afar, when you get to the point you're talking to people that are not part of the neighborhood, so to speak, and they see local people have already signed on, then they understand, hey, something's happening here, right? It's the first time is always the hardest, right? In any sort of business, the first client, the first dollar. And this is why people like to put their first dollar, in the frame, that kind of thing, right? The proverbial.
I did that, Scott, dollar. and then COVID came and I cracked the thing and took the dollar. And no, I'm just
That's right. Yeah, sometimes we got to do that, right? But it just gives you the right series of leverage points. I'll take just a moment to mention too. My co-writer on the white paper, Dominic Endicott, is also the author of Knowledge Towns, which a book on and he's got a lot of research and written a lot on the what I think is relevant to this larger strategy and is really I got to say kudos to him because he's really helped me in broadening a lot of things I had rolling around in my head as a business owner that wanted to really look at the larger picture in a variety of different ways. And so, kudos to him for that. But it's really about those leverage points and about combining local buy-in and the organization around bringing, you mentioned, pulling the local people together, whether
Yeah.
that's institutionally or whether that's individuals of high net worth, key stakeholders at the political or other institutional level. It's important that we get all clocks to strike at once, so to speak.
Yeah.
Lastly, I'll say we have to remember that less than 70 years ago, in Springfield, where you're currently reside,
Yeah.
we had big ideas. Urban renewal, which by many measures has been considered a failure only 60 years later. But it was a big idea, and it was a big scale, right? We were
Hmm.
creating a car-centric environment nationally. We were creating thousands of miles of roadway. Some of these numbers are painful, but looking at the north end of Springfield alone, I think some 1,477 homes were taken just to create the highway infrastructure that, frankly, blasts through the neighborhood.
Hmm.
And there are other sections of Springfield that were greatly affected. So that's a bad example in that that's not the kind of development that I certainly, or that Living Local 413 is advocating for. But I'm saying that part of how we get to a better place in the next 10, 20, 30 years is that we have to be Americans and people in the Commonwealth need to rediscover their capacity for really big ideas and then executing on those ideas.
No, I think, there was a fact you had said in the white paper that, somebody aiming for $100 billion in new wealth is feasible given the region's potential. And that's the thing. Sometimes people get lost in where the potential is. One of the things, though, was you gave an example of a success in something similar, and it was around the Oxford University transformational impact and their venture capital that was localized. I'm a big believer in, like, show me a path forward that someone else has at least tried, and then we can modify based on our need, but something that is got similarity, which I think is what you tried to do in the white paper with Oxford. Can you tell folks a little bit about that?
Well, and that's Dominic's example. And in short, what happened there is, yes, local buy-in, also in industries that were targeted for further development in Oxford. I'll give you an example, a recent example that I personally worked on.
Please.
The job that brought me away from Massachusetts into Vermont. We started with a focus on a venture capital fund for a tech-enabled incubator. And so we partnered with a national accelerator program. That's a program called Generator that we're also Living Local 413. We have plans to bring it to Greenfield, Massachusetts as well.
Hmm.
That's another opportunity for our investors and donors. But the long and the short of it is to work with an organization or organizations with a larger presence than just locally, to bring them in and to help them, for those of us who are local to a project, build capacity, as an example, for potential subscribers to market to, capacity for additional monies that come from afar
Hmm.
if we raise locally. The local money, we raised around $1 million in about 7 weeks. And many people said this is a rural environment. That's a modest amount of money, but for us in this area, that's a lot.
Yeah, no,
And it
I
took
mean,
us 7 weeks.
in that short period of time, I mean, that's a
And it took us 7 weeks. Basically, the strategy there was very mundane and very simple. We were asking people. In other
what a
words,
concept, right?
in other words, particularly in deindustrialized environments, we sometimes forget what we're capable of.
Right.
So much for the entrepreneurs listening right now, they'll tell you that a lot of their, the successful mentorship they may have received early on in their careers it was a lot about just, people with a little more experience and years on the planet than them. We're
Mhm.
reminding them what they're truly capable of, and
Mhm.
in essence, giving them permission to take those risks. And
Yeah.
so it's a pretty small risk when you just simply start to ask your individuals and institutions of high net worth, hey,
Right.
we've done our homework. We have a great thesis. Would you like to see it?
Well, so on that, because now we'll have to go to a part three if we don't wrap up, and then Bill will really kill me. But so let's end with this. Okay. So what can people do that are listening in general? I mean, these are people who believe in the 413. They're fans of living local. And I know that there's an equity investor campaign. So that is an option. But tell me, like, how do people get involved and show their support for this financially and, as a friend raiser, if you will?
The two immediate opportunities that we currently have are we are looking for accredited equity investors for our Greenfield project. And so we have a full, set of documents on that and can share and present to anyone,
Okay.
anytime. And that is, again, accredited equity investors who have an interest in passive investment in real estate. And,
Yep.
and in this case, a mixed use downtown development that we have we've just launched the equity campaign for. When I say it just launched. The other place is for those interested in making donations to see a large accelerator program, national accelerator program to operate here.
Hmm.
We are soliciting for people to donate to that program. The money is being allocated to operate the accelerator for the first 3 years.
Okay.
And then, of course, once it sort of garners its own steam and we start generating teams, then we'll initiate our own venture capital fund campaign so
Right.
that we have local venture capital money that's accelerating the teams that we previously were helping to incubate in the
Yep.
first couple of years.
So, Scott, I got to wrap. Do you have anything you want to leave people with? I will try to put all your contact information in the information so that they can reach out to the best of my ability. But what is your email and what else do you want people to know before you go?
So email is Scott at ll413.org.
Got
And
it.
the last thing I'll mention is we have put together an experienced development team made up of a combination of LPs and advisors that are both local and also just a lot of general partners that I've worked with in the past representing other regions in the country. So specific to our equity investment raise for Greenfield, we have some pretty heady experience there
Excellent.
represented on that development team.
Yeah, and Scott, I mean that's the key piece is that this is no longer a pie in the sky idea. This is boots on the ground. This is moving forward with full steam ahead, thanks to you and to Bill. So, Scott Graves, if you didn't know who he was and you've just been listening, he is awesome. He's Living Local's funding and programs director, a great guy with a lot of experience in this area, and really trying to transform first Greenfield and then probably all of the 413 if we can get his attention to do so because we want it. This show is called Biz Buzz 413. I am your host, Jill Munson. We're looking for your thoughts on topics. What do you want to know about? We're going to share as much as we can. We are doing a new series within BizBuzz called Beyond the Biz Card. And we're going to chat with great people who are doing great things in 413, business owners, individuals in nonprofits, community leaders, whoever. Just start to get a glimpse of who the person is, behind the awesomeness. So if you have somebody for the Beyond the Biz Card series, feel free to email me as well. You can do so at bizbuzz@livinglocal413.org. And in the meantime, just remember each and every day when you wake up here in the 413 that you live in probably the best part of not only the state, the country. Thanks for listening.
Biz Buzz 413 was brought to you by Living Local.